opportunity, obviously, to talk about real football practice, the results of those practices, the intense competition, and how it's going to play out on game day, or how we hope it's going to play out on game day. I got an opportunity. Matthew's involved in this too. He'll have to edit it later, and we'll get it up on the website. I did. I was asked, I do stuff sometimes for this thing called the College Sports Book, and that kind of has been in the infancy stages, and we haven't put a lot of effort into refining that thing to what it's going to be. But we've had fun kind of getting to know the metrics and learning how to do certain things. Anyhow, my point is I like hosting that because it allows me to engage in things that I already like to do, which is look up what a football team is or is not and why, and kind of the measurements and projections moving forward of what a team could be. It is an inexact science. Of course, the game is still played by human beings, which is great. Because if all we had to do were look at numbers, wouldn't that suck? I remember when Moneyball came out, and then later the movie, which I thought the movie was great. The book was great too. But I remember thinking that I would have been much more like Jonah Hill's character than Brad Pitt's character, just because if it just becomes about the numbers, then why would we ever watch the games? You wouldn't, right? No, man, they're still human beings. They're still guys that end up making plays. There's somebody who sometimes exceeds what the back of their card says they are, and other guys who perform below what the back of that card says they are, right? So you watch the games, and there are mitigating circumstances and overriding circumstances that are hard to predict. So we can do it with all sports, and I love how much better we can do it now with football, but you still got to watch the games, still played by, in this case, pretty young men who have the opportunity to kind of change over the course of their career a good bit of who we think they are. And so this assignment this time around for the sports book, actually, it fell in my lap. It was Florida State. And I thought, oh, well, yeah, I can do that one because I can add more than just the numbers. I can tell you, you're going to look at things to try to tell the story, to paint the picture. And we've spent this entire summer doing that, right? What was Florida State last year beyond 5-7? What were they? What kind of team were they? Where did they succeed? Where did they fail? Definitively. What do those numbers tell you? So, for example, if you want to, and all of these metrics are just a way of painting the picture, of telling the story. We've gone from traditional stats to more advanced stats, but they're all in an effort to try to inform our opinion of what a player is, what a team is, what a program is going to be, or what it was, right? All these things. So when you hear something like, because I get a lot of old guys as well as young guys listen to this show. I'm right in the sweet spot. I'm lucky. I got like 18 to 60 something. And obviously there are some guys that are younger than that and older than that, but that's where we're at. It's one of the things I love about this job is that you're really reaching a large swath of people. Unlike if you're like an FM DJ and you sit down and you play a song by, whatever genre you want to name. Let's just say modern pop, right? The people listening to that station are very specific, and you can know who those people are, who your demo is, right? This is more varied, and I like that. Poor, rich, middle class, white, black, Hispanic, right? It's all across the board. Mostly men, admittedly, mostly men, but even that's changed over the years. More and more women love football, love athletics, love sports, love competition, and know a lot about it. So in my time of doing this job, that too has changed, which is great. So I say all of that to say this. When I get these emails from people like, well, what does that mean? What you talk about passing down success rate. What does that mean? What does havoc rate mean? You hear these numbers and what do they mean? And where does FSU rank in them? Florida State's offensive unit as a whole was 89th in offensive success rate. And the best way to boil that down when we look at all of these numbers, how often are you on schedule to pick up a first down? If we're just talking about success rate, offensive success rate, how often are you on track? Are you on schedule? Keyword there, to pick up a first down. So gaining 5 yards on 1st and 10 is more important than gaining 5 yards on 3rd and 15, isn't it? So you can't place the same value on those 5 yards. And that's what we're doing here. And, if your offense stays ahead of the chains and dictates terms to the defense, then you obviously can create big plays. And FSU's offense didn't do that well last year. And basically what I looked into and noted, of course, was something that you probably noted too, just by observing the games. And that is that they had to rely last year offensively on non-designed quarterback runs a lot. And that's known as a broken play. And a broken play cannot be the cornerstone of your offensive success. It can't be that the vast majority of your successful drives were spurred by Jordan Travis making something out of nothing. Now that it can work. It did at times. It can be a reason that you end up winning a game that you probably should have lost, right? But as it turns out, you can't build a game plan around it. And you're not going to have sustained success doing it. So not a reliable way to consistently succeed driving and drive out. But to take it a step further, the offense was 96th in offensive finishing drives, which that's points per trip inside the 40. So when they got inside the 40 and cash it in all that well, 114th in havoc rate allowed. That's defined as plays which defense records a tackle for loss, forces a fumble, defends a pass, basically negative plays for the offense, right? All of that, all of these negative numbers. So we're right this entire offseason to be very, very focused on Florida State's offense. We don't talk as much about the defense. And there's a reason for that too. And the numbers bear that out. And so I think, that became more of a fun exercise for me early this morning over coffee, really diving down into those numbers to make this video on the College Sportsbook for FSU's win total of 6.5. The more you did it, the more you looked into what was wrong and what was right, the more excited, frankly, because I'm going to follow that up with another observation, the more excited you got about this season. I got, personally, the more excited I got. This morning, I'll take you through the morning. Wake up early as always. Wife gets out the door, goes to work. I'm making the coffee. My deadbeat kids are sound asleep. They're allowed to be. They're 14 and 12. Sleep while you can, kiddos. School's about to start. Ha ha. Why do I take great pleasure? You talk about Schadenfreude. All those years that as a kid you lamented how soon that the summer ended and how soon school would start. And you thought, son of a... And you just felt the weight. It's like the 60 Minutes clock on Sundays. That Sunday depression hits you. Tick, 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 tick. That's tonight on 60 Minutes. Son of a. It's over. It's all over. So anyhow, that stuff happens, right? And now that that's not the way I feel so much, not like a kid who's in school anyhow. I hear that stuff like, yeah, it hurts, doesn't it? Sucks, huh? Yeah. Summer's almost over, guys. What an ass. I'm such a jerk. I just say it randomly.
Well, now that you're on the other side, you should call your mother and apologize.
Yeah, I should. So here's the deal. Wife leaves, goes to work. Kids are asleep. All's quiet in the Cameron household. I got a good cup of Joe, and I sit down for this project. And I start looking at some of those numbers. 114th in havoc rate allowed. 96th in offensive finishing drives. I look at 69th in the country in passing down success rate. Now that one, actually, I think we all could have guessed. There was that you could guess that when the opposing defense was winning early in the series, that you were going to be put in position that third and long meant you had to throw the ball, and you didn't have elite receivers. You didn't have a very good offensive line, and your quarterback is not an elite drop back passer. So these things add up to it's about time to punt. It's about time to punt. And that when I was looking at those numbers, I thought, well, I mean, how much better are those numbers going to be? And you know what? The offensive line is going to be better. That does what? Well, a lot of things, but first of all, it gives you a chance to win a game. Secondly, more time for guys to get open. 6 of the 7 top targets return, but that's not really the story, because more important than the returning wide receivers none of whom you feel great about. I mean, we're holding out hope that McClain is going to continue to emerge, perhaps, or Portier takes a step forward. He had a good spring. More important than that was bringing in Micah Pittman from Oregon, which that you have to count that into your production chart when you're looking at guys who returns, who doesn't, who did you bring in the portal. So now your receiving core gets a huge bump from a guy who I think is going to have, and if you were covering this team from afar, meaning your task was to cover college football on the whole from a distance, say Washington, D.C. or Corvallis or wherever, you would just look at, okay, well, they're getting this many snaps back at wide receiver. None of these guys were all that productive. You're bringing in Micah Pittman, who really didn't do anything at Oregon and is coming off of an injury. So I don't know, how much of a bump could I give him? Well, see, that's where I have an advantage doing this right now because I was at every one of those all but 3 of those spring practices, and he was sensational. He was a game changer for Florida State in the spring. It changed what a reasonable expectation could be for this receiving core. That is to say, a guy that diminutive won a ton of 50-50 balls. He was physically tough and strong, in addition to being extremely athletic. So now I know that's not a minor addition. That's a major addition. Winston Wright was a guy that obviously they sought to bring in for obvious reasons, and that is that in the Power 5, this is a guy who produced. He was a bona fide wide receiver at the Power 5 level with results. He had receipts. This is what I can do against stiff competition. They got unlucky. This is where I always bring up Norvell's been a little unlucky. They bring that guy in. You can't predict these kinds of things. There's an unfortunate car accident. Sucks because he had barely gotten any time in spring. He was getting over something, and so that happens. But the news on that front continues to be very positive. Well ahead in his rehab schedule. Way ahead of where they thought he was going to be at this time. Defying odds even. That speaks to a motivated young man who wants to get paid. Good. I don't care the reasons. Motivation's always good, whatever that is. So let's go. If he is able to get back really, really soon, not like kind of soon, like LSU soon, we're talking about 2 major additions to the receiving core, okay? Now, all of a sudden, you're really looking at a drastic upgrade. Again, is this going to be an elite core of receivers in the ACC? No. Nope. But they won't be the worst in the ACC like they were a year ago if these guys play well. And I think they have a real opportunity to. Johnny Wilson's kind of the unknown in a way. That's a guy whose body type suggests that you could use him a lot of ways, especially in the red zone. I need him to be a more consistent receiver of the football, catcher of the football, but you can't teach that height. He loves to block. That group's better up front. So that number, 89th in offensive success rate, 69th in passing down success rate. Those numbers figure to go way up. I just gave you the reasons. A better, deeper offensive line in which there is a competitive depth, right? So the competition in practice makes everybody better. You have more bodies when people get hurt, and they're not just bodies, as Mike Norvell said yesterday at the ACC Kickoff when talking to the local press. They're guys that can come in and help you, not just hold it down. Okay, now I don't think this is an elite offensive line. I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying. Do I think it is a better, deeper offensive line? Yes, I do. Do I think the receiving core got a shot in the arm with the additions of the guys I just alluded to? Yes, I do. So they'll be better. Jordan Travis is the unquestioned starting quarterback. He doesn't have the questions at this year's ACC Kickoff that he had hovering over him a year ago. No doubt that was off-putting for him, having to share that, not being really sure if he was the guy. So many times he's been second guessed, right? All of that. So these are things that now you throw in a pretty deep offensive backfield. When you look at the running back position, I think it got a huge shot in the arm with Trey Benson. Do they get anything better at tight end? We know what Cam is. He'll never be elite. Can he be decent? I think he can be decent. We'll see if any of the other guys give you something. They got enough of them. And they've got a couple of names that you can get excited about that we'll see if they can hurry up, grow up in a hurry. Can they make some plays for you? Maybe. But that's better. You're solid on the back end. You know who you are at safety. You feel very good about that. That's experience and leadership. You're all right with the return, obviously, of Duke Cooper at corner. Kevin Noles, I think, played very well last year, and you continue to see him emerge. You have maybe one question at the other corner spot if Noles isn't your starter and it's Reynaldo Green. If that's the case, maybe you're average there. You're good at the other corner. You bring in Tatum Bethune at linebacker. And that's a guy that, once again, UCF's been a better program than Florida State for some time now, sad to admit. And that guy, he was a tackling machine. A machine. And in the spring, virtually unblockable. Dominated. No reason to think he isn't going to seriously upgrade the level of play at a position where Florida State's just been flat out bad. Not unlike wide receiver and offensive line. Florida State hasn't been marginal. They've been bad. Deloach came on at the end of last year. Second half of the season was a really good linebacker. Competition created again with the influx of more. So you have that. I'll tell you, man, this exercise this morning felt good. I went inside Bill Connolly's numbers in the projected conference, the division, and then the ACC as a whole. And at the end of the day, his SP plus numbers for, again, just another means by which to evaluate. It isn't the be-all, end-all. It isn't all of that. It's just another measuring stick, another tool. But he's got them at 7.81 wins. That totals at 6.5. I felt very comfortable. Action Network had Florida State, I think it's 7.7 wins. Most of the models using a variety of metrics, kind of like I'm doing here in this conversation, point to Florida State having better than a 6-win season. Most of them point towards this being 7+. And I don't think that's off. I think 7-5 is the most likely outcome. 8-4, very, very possible. And you know what? You get back to what you end up having the realization of, and I did this morning when I was pouring my second cup of coffee that I want to do, looking out the window, surveying, thinking about the upcoming season. It was that simple. It's a bad movie. Me staring off at the trees, having a sip of Joe, thinking about win totals. That's my morning. And what a damn good morning that is, kids. Dogs at my side. So I'll tell you, I kept coming back to that damn LSU game. I want to talk about that next. I'm going to. But I did. I kept coming back to that damn LSU game. Whereas before, I looked a lot at, understandably, the Louisville game, and I still find that to be a massively important game. But something kept drawing me back to LSU. And that's going to be a good game. That's going to be a good game and a really important game. We'll talk about that some next. Some further observations. Yesterday was a lot about Jim Phillips looking like a deer in headlights, not projecting strength, struggling with the new reality that the ACC finds itself in. Today, a little bit more about what our coach had to say and what the players that were there had to say, and the fact that camp gets underway next week. Players report. Practice begins Wednesday. I got an email this morning that also served to brighten the day, which is our annual luncheon with the coaching staff and players and the Q&A that follows lunch. That invite was sent today by Derek Satterfield. Jeff Cameron, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
James Ryan Finn at Finn Chiropractic. Wanted to let you guys know, chiropractic doesn't just get rid of back pain, neck pain, and headaches. It could help with sleep. It could help with digestion. Maybe you have pain down your arm. But chiropractic is one of the safest, most natural, most effective ways to get to the root cause of your problem. So if your loved one are having a problem, even if you think we might not be able to help, make a new patient appointment today at FinnChiro.com. That's FENNCHIRO.com. Because your chiropractor loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
This is Kyle, Service Manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry bucks to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, T-SparkConstruction.com. We conquer all creaks. We fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
License number CCC 1331204.
Hey Tallahassee, it's Sarah with Seminole Auto Glass. You're probably driving right now, which means you're surrounded by glass. Did you know that each piece is made differently? Your windshield is 2 sheets of glass with a thin plastic in between. This allows it to take an impact without going all the way through. Side and back glasses are typically tempered. This strengthening process is what allows them to be shattered in the event of emergency. Regardless of the glass or how it breaks, we can help. Trust your local auto glass experts. Seminole Auto Glass, proudly serving the Pig Pen for over 15 years. Better call Seminole.
Sellers Tile does it better for business owners, contractors, designers, and homeowners. Better design ideas, better quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring, better mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions. And Sellers makes it easier with their amazing showroom and first-class professionals. Maybe it's time to get Sellers working for you on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com for better style, quality, and design. Go with Sellers in Tallahassee. Call 656-8453.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place. Yeah,
My goodness.
well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
This is Patty Wilson.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're ready.
He's recording.
Why are you always saying your last name? It's Patty and Scott. Everybody knows
know that.
Patty and Scott.
I don't know. This is Patty Wilson. Not this is. I am Patty Wilson.
What is the idea behind said promo?
It's for Patty's Playhouse. We're on Patty's Playhouse Saturdays at 11. Tune in. That's stupid. Just tune in. Saturdays at 11. Patty Wilson, Patty's Playhouse. House talk with a happy ending.
Each and every time.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Surrounding realignment and the future of the ACC and the plight of the teams in it. I'm ready for real football too. I'm ready for that. Listen, we're all going to be keeping a very close eye on the other. You have to keep a close eye on that. One is the long-term future, and the other is, of course, the immediate and short-term. And so I'm ready to dive into the immediate and short-term. I thought that Mike Norvell, and so did the players, I thought they came across very, very confident. It's the time of year where I think, obviously, you would expect that. But to hear FSU players, Fabian Levitt talked about the LSU game. That so did Jamie Robinson. I think they get it. That game is of major importance. They have a chance to perhaps kind of dictate the rest of the season by how they perform in that game. I think it can be a mistake, and Mike didn't bring this up, and so that the coaching staff isn't going to harp on a singular game. You have to go in to this season with a certain modus operandi, right? You look at these things, this process, the games themselves, the way you prepare, the way you wrap your minds around it mentally and physically, the way you get to work and all that. That really needs to remain consistent. And I think for the most part that is how they handle it. But if you think about it, LSU goes into that game with a mess of a season a year ago and 6-7. 5-5 the year before that. It's not as if LSU has been tearing it up. It's also not as if LSU is devoid of talent. Maybe the stability that they brought in by bringing in Coach Brian Kelly and ridding themselves of Ed Orgeron is enough to get that talent to play at a much higher level. But there are always transitional growing pains. And this game being so early in the season and with FSU having a week 0 opener against Duquesne, one would like to think that if we're shaking rust off and transitioning into another season, that Florida State has an edge, at least in that realm, and I think they do. Now, are they talented enough? That game will answer a lot of questions. But I liked the confidence, and not specifically about that game, that the players spoke with, and I liked the enthusiasm and confidence that Mike Norvell had. Because one thing about Mike, and I've talked with him enough face-to-face, and I've had the opportunity to observe his interactions with the press in general and his team and individual players. I think I got a pretty good read on Mike. And he's a guy that I think has been very, very candid, open and honest about what his team is or is not. Sometimes what you're not saying says a lot about it, as opposed to a direct comment on an issue. Mike has never shown as much confidence and enthusiasm in his team as he has this offseason, through this spring and this offseason. I think he knows that they've done a lot to remedy some of the most glaring errors. Now, they're not where they need to be. They're not where they hope to be in a year or two. But I think he believes, certainly, that they are equipped to have a much better season. And there are a lot of reasons for that. The offensive line would be the starting point. Mike is very excited about where Jordan's head is at, in addition to the physical part of the game. Okay. That's give yourself a fighting chance. You cleaned up the locker room. You got people on the same page. And most importantly, you upgraded the level of talent that you are going into battle with. This is the bottom line is, at the end of the day, you can detoxify a locker room. You can get buy-in. You can have a belief and sell a vision and get kids to say yes to that and coaches to coach it. But if the players aren't good enough to execute, aren't big enough, strong enough, fast enough, and you're not deep enough, it really won't matter, all of that. I think this is the first time he believes he has enough of that to go out and win football games. Now, they're not the most talented team in the league. They're not favored in the vast majority of the bigger games that they're going to play. They're not favored against LSU. They won't be favored against Clemson and NC State. They won't be there are a lot of games you can find on the schedule where right now Vegas certainly thinks that they're not the team to beat, that they're not the likely winner of that game. That's fine. Those margins were larger. The preseason numbers, those preseason lines, those preseason win totals and the like have changed in favor of Florida State. Not in that they're going to win, but the original LSU line's a touchdown line. The Sharps bet it down to 3, 2.5. Again, a lot of sharp people looking at FSU saying, there's potential for that team to surprise a lot of people. I agree with that. It doesn't mean they will. But I do think I think they have an opportunity. Somebody asked me a question about good old Walt Deptula. He asks me on every year. And I enjoy going on the show. I also get what he does and what he's doing. I can't find the question. If you find it, let me know. I'll answer it. Somebody asked me about one of his predictions, and I find it interesting. Hey, Michael, by the way, I see you there. Thanks for contributing. I appreciate you. Let's go in order here. I'll go Michael and then David. Michael writes, which was more difficult to cover, the lost decade or the lost half decade that we're currently in? Also, what does Eddie say at the end of the Gordos commercial? Thanks, Jeff, and we'll keep you regular. That's what he says, Michael. And by the way, that commercial is dated and needs to be changed, and it will be done early next week. Hunting down my man, Eddie, is difficult at times. That said, I love him. Great restaurant. Okay, now back to what's more difficult. I think the lost decade was more difficult. I understand that the further removed you are from a difficult situation, it's easier for you to say that the thing that you're going through right now is the more pressing, difficult time. But in truth, the reason I thought the lost decade was more difficult was that there was no hope for the future and that things weren't suddenly going to change. The staff got old. The game passed them by. There wasn't going to be a shift in their ability to get the most out of those players. So you just felt like it was status quo until either he resigned and or was fired or whatever it was going to be to exact change. Now, eventually, obviously, they bring in Jimbo Fisher. I was in favor of that. In fact, I predicted it on the air, and then that ended up happening. And there was the guy that modernized. Day one, modernized the way they practice. Everything. No more standing around. Not so much downtime where guys aren't doing anything. Every minute of every practice was them, a player, on one of the fields in some group doing something that mattered. And so you just got more out of what was going on a daily basis. They changed who they were trying to recruit, and things got better. But it was tough in that period before that because you just felt like you were running in place. Nobody likes to be in limbo. Being in limbo is very difficult. It's easier to meet a challenge head on when you know what it is. And you may not like it. You may think it's overwhelming. You think it could be very difficult, right? But if you know what it is, and then you develop a game plan, and you have a plan in place to follow, and you work that plan every day, then there's purpose behind every day. I felt like we were aimless during the lost decade, that a lot of what we were doing was going to bring about the same results because there was no real change in or shift in philosophy. And what we were doing was dated. So this was just same as last year. I think it's easier when you're in a transitional stage. These losses hurt the same. Watching a team stink like this is very difficult, especially when you're passionate and you love them. But if you believe in the plan and you watch them exact that plan on a daily basis and you see people buy in and work towards an end, it may not work out. There's no guarantees that it's going to work. I'm not saying that this is going to, in the end, work out for Mike. It may not. This year is critical to his success long-term, obviously. But I do think it's easier to watch the changes and see those plans be put in place, acted upon by the coaches, and believed in by the players, because now you're seeing something different that you hope brings about change. It may not. If it doesn't, then obviously he'll get fired. It's a very simple math equation in the world of college football. The money is so great, and the expectations don't shift all that much at a place like Florida State. Either you're winning or you're not. And if you're not, and the too much period goes by, then you get fired. This is how it works. You get fired. What was the next one? And I'll answer that as well. Walt from Clemson picked FSU last in the Atlantic, and Norvell fired. Your thoughts? Well, let's take a quick break, and I'll come back and answer that because I went long before. I actually do have thoughts on that. And, anyhow, it'll be fun. We'll talk about it next. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The University of Florida is one step closer to allowing students access to emergency contraceptive pills 24/7 in vending machines. In a non-binding decision, the Student Senate voted unanimously to offer the morning after pill, best known as Plan B, in vending machines around the university. Students are pushing to get Plan B in vending machines so that the emergency contraceptive is accessible any day of the week at any hour. The on-campus pharmacy has limited hours, so students do not have access to the pills after a certain time every day or on weekends. The unanimous vote from the Student Senate is just the first step in making the vending machine plan a reality. Students now must get approval from University Business Services, the campus, health center, and canteen vending services to complete the project. The governor's office is reminding the public some families are receiving $450 per child stimulus checks in the mail. Those that qualify include some single mothers, adoptive families, and parents in the foster care program. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Partly cloudy skies this afternoon with a chance for scattered thunderstorms. Daytime highs approaching 91. Winds out of the southwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered storms again tonight. Lows around 74, partly cloudy. Mainly clear skies and quiet tomorrow. Chance for scattered storms. High temperatures reach up to 91. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 83.
Hey, Nole fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
What do you need tires on? Your car or truck, tractor, or heavy equipment? At Nice Tire and Auto Service, we have tires for all these needs. And we service your vehicle from air conditioning and computerized alignment to oil changes and everything else under the hood. Call Nice Tire and Auto today at 574-4100. That's 574-4100 for your scheduled maintenance. National accounts welcome at Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
Here's what you missed on the Greg Tish Show.
There's a TikTok that's going viral because of a butter softening method. They are putting the Vermont Creamery butter in the waistband of her pants. Give it 5 minutes. You can go and measure out your ingredients, and then your butter is ready to go. You cannot do this in Florida.
No.
Because your pants will be full of butter in 2 minutes. Somebody try it. Post on TikTok.
Unless it says juicy across the back.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Station that houses Walt Eptula, who I've gotten to know over the years. I guess he prognosticated the Atlantic and picked Florida State to finish last in the Atlantic Division, and that Norvell would be fired. Now, Walt is not above and beyond a little sensationalism, especially when it comes to chiding Florida State fans in the area and goading them into a response. He's also not ill-equipped to assess football. So there's two things working there that I find interesting and that I take into account. So I would say on its face that there is very little chance Florida State finishes behind, say, Boston College in the Atlantic. I mean, if we're gonna start picking teams that Florida State can finish in front of. Oh, by the way, it's the time of year where we should do a refresher. Last year's Atlantic Division was won by Wake Forest. Wake Forest went 7-1 in the conference a year ago, despite having a pretty porous defense, but an elite offense. And they won 11 games, and they won the Atlantic. So it was not Clemson, but rather Wake that won the Atlantic a year ago. NC State 6-2, Clemson 6-2. Those two finishing up there in second and third. And, of course, NC State beat Clemson in overtime. From there, it was Louisville followed by Florida State in conference. And then Syracuse, who Florida State beat in dramatic fashion, and Boston College, who Florida State beat on the road. So the two contenders, yet again, that I would tell you bare minimum that Florida State would finish ahead of are Syracuse and Boston College. Now, I'm not saying that based on last year's results. I'm just noting that those two who finished below Florida State a year ago, and that was not a great Florida State team, I think are positioned to finish below Florida State yet again. And I get it. Phil Jerkovic is a good quarterback. I agree with that. But they are going through a comprehensive retooling of their offensive line. And we know, by the way, that if, in fact, you have offensive line problems, you can stop the conversation. You can look at anything you want. You can talk about, how good he is, or Zay Flowers, or anybody else that you like on that offense. You can talk all about that, right? And you can say, well, this is a good player. That's a good player. If your offensive line is below average, subpar, you're going to have a real hard time winning games, whether or not your quarterback, running back, and receiver are good or not. You've got real issues, and I think they have real issues on the offensive line. They've already improved greatly on defense. They're getting better. I love Hafley. I think he's one of the better coaches in the league, and I think he could be a problem long-term in terms of getting Boston College to a place where they're more consistently competitive. For example, the defense at Boston College at the end of my guy Adazio's era, Old Pastry let him down at the end because that defense became a sieve and real problems. I will see if they're improved on defense this year. They were kind of middling a year ago. They lose Brandon Sebastian. It's interesting. I think they're a pretty average to below average team, and I have them worse off than Florida State. So I would, right off the bat, just by the mere presence of Boston College, tell you that I think that Florida State is not going to finish last in the Atlantic. I also think Florida State is going to finish ahead of Syracuse. If you look at SP Plus projections, they are looking at around 5.5 wins. That's not everything, but I think Florida State's going to win more than 5 games. So I like Florida State to be better than Syracuse. That's a game I'm counting on them to win. I think, Syracuse is better than they were. I will give you that. I think they are. I don't think that they're obviously a great team, but I think they're probably better than they were. I think the two teams to take a real close eye on is, without question, Florida State and Louisville. Those are the two teams that are the most, I think, probably volatile in the Atlanta division. Syracuse, if you look at the trends, 5-7 in 2019, 1-10, 111th in SP Plus in 2020. They went from bad to really, really bad defensively. The offense was not good. They have a running back in Sean Tucker that we all saw who can really play. The passing game is awful. I don't see it, man. I don't think they're very good. So I think Florida State's going to be better. Sometimes you just boil it down to its simplest ingredients. They're not good on defense. They've got a really good running back. They don't have a great passing game. This is trending in the wrong direction. I like Florida State to be better than Syracuse. Where you might be surprised is that no matter the talent of, and I agree, it is considerable, but no matter the talent of Sam Hartman, I think Florida State's a better team than Wake Forest. Oh, there it is. I said it. I do. I hate Wake Forest's defense, and so do the numbers. It's not just that. It's the numbers tell you that, and my eyes tell me that, and I'm telling you, I think when you watch this game this year, Florida State is going to possess the ball more. Now, I can't predict turnovers. Obviously, if you turn the ball over 5 or 6 times against anybody, you're in trouble. But I think that game could very well turn into a shootout. And if you're not killing yourself with dumbass penalties like the roughing the punter that wasn't roughing the punter called last year, or the out-of-bounds hit that wasn't out-of-bounds called last year, the sustained drives kept your poorest defense out on the field. Also, remember, Florida State was still doing the dumbassery at quarterback at that time. We didn't know what was going on. So that all of that is remedied. The back half of that season last year showed Florida State to be much better on defense, much more competent. You know who your starting quarterback is going to be. You're better up front. You're going to possess the ball more. That's fewer possessions for Wake Forest. I like Sam Hartman. I think that their offensive coordinator, Warren Ruggiero, is good. But I'm telling you, I think Florida State wins that game. So now I've got them, in all likelihood, if that's the case, finishing just ahead of Wake in the division as well. So Well, what the hell are you talking about, baby? The question isn't whether or not Florida State is going to finish last and Mike Norvell fired. It's whether or not they can finish ahead of Louisville. Because I don't think they're going to finish ahead of Clemson and NC State. And I've got them finishing ahead of Wake Forest, Syracuse, and Boston College. So here we go. Can you finish ahead of Louisville? If so, then I think you see Clemson, NC State, Florida State in that order. And if that's the order they finish, that projects somewhere in the neighborhood of what? 5-3 in conference? It's a step up. Not a huge step up, but a step up. Then it comes down to your out-of-conference games against Florida and LSU and Louisiana. Obviously, you get into the Duquesne, all that, when you're trying to find win totals. But when you're just looking at conference record, okay. Give me the 5-3, baby. I'll take that. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to tread water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. We're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service, right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mndlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
Physical stress on our bodies can take its toll as the years go by. Whether you're looking to get back into an old sport or just want to spend more time outdoors to explore all life has to offer in our beautiful city, the dedicated team at TOC is here for you every step of the way. You can trust TOC for all your orthopedic needs. And now, scheduling an appointment has never been easier. Just visit teamtoc.com and click schedule online. That's teamtoc.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-452-5050. That's 1-800-452-5050. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-452-5050. That's 1-800-452-5050.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange.
Owned it, who's been the one to lead the way. you look at the most elite defenses and offenses. Look, man, among college football teams that have excelled in success rate on offense, well, LSU in 2019, Alabama, Tua quarterback 2019 also, Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley 2017, 2018, and 2019, hence the reason he was such a hot commodity for USC, obviously. So perennial national title contenders seem to lead the way offensively. Defensively, it's not always the case. You can find where Wisconsin and occasionally others top that list, even Air Force one year. So that's, you look at some of those numbers, they don't always equate on the other side of the ball to the kind of success that you would expect. But it's a fun tool to utilize. I mentioned the email received this morning, and that is a good one to get about it's time. It is all time. We will be meeting up next week with the coaching staff for the annual luncheon, which is followed by conversations with coaches and players that are made available to us at said luncheon. It's one of the, I think, really enlightened aspects of what Mike Norvell does in building his program and his interactions with the press. Now, as a member of the press, you could guess that I would say that because I have more access to the players we cover and the coaches we cover and the team that we analyze than ever before. And yeah, that matters. But I also think it speaks to, and it's an annual reminder, that guy believes wholeheartedly in what he's doing. You would not invite this much scrutiny and this much access if you didn't believe in the plan you have in place. It doesn't matter if you think that he's going to make it or not, or that he'll succeed or not, only that clearly he does. Because again, you would not invite this much scrutiny by having all legitimate members of the press and those on this beat who cover Florida State over to the Moore Athletic Center to sit down and have lunch. And he usually kind of gives us the state of the program. And then from there, after lunch, we get access to him, his assistant coaches, and players for one-on-one interviews, long-form dialogue, conversation, video, as well as audio, everything you could want. Again, I think it's smart because you're, again, trying to reveal some of who these players are, what they are, how they go about their business. But also there's a connection there. You end up developing a connection. I think that's important. Now, again, if you don't win games, none of it matters. Agreed. If you don't win games, that policy, while very great for us who cover the team because it lends context to what we talk about on a daily basis. So I'm always going to appreciate that. I also think there's other reasons to do it that are really smart that have nothing to do with how it benefits me or other members of the press. I think that Bobby Bowden did that early on. Obviously, he understood the importance of having a working relationship with the press and how it could benefit his program and the way that they were covered. And so I think that there's some of that too. From Mike Norvell. But when you get that email, it's go time. And I got it this morning, and I know that they are reporting. We are having that meeting. Practice begins Wednesday. So it is time to get it on. Full force, good times, and a lot of competition this year, not foregone conclusions, which makes camp all the more interesting on a daily basis. So obviously continue to watch and listen to the Jeff Cameron Show and all that we do on Warchant TV and warchant.com. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with us.
Show, live and local on Real Talk 93.3, WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. President Biden has a runny nose and fatigue with an occasional dry cough. That's after testing positive for the coronavirus. With more, White House correspondent Greg Cluxton.
The president's positive test result comes as COVID cases and hospitalizations are on the rise. He was to have traveled to Pennsylvania for an afternoon speech, but instead is conducting business by phone and Zoom from the White House residence, where he is isolating. His press secretary says the president is experiencing mild symptoms.
White House correspondent Greg Cluxton. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she hoped that Mr. Biden's positive test for the virus would cause more Americans to get vaccinated and boosted, saying because none of us is immune from it, including the president of the United States. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell on Twitter wished the president a speedy recovery. Also at townhall.com, the number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits last week rose to the highest level in more than 8 months. Shelley Adler has more.
In what could be a sign that the labor market is weakening, applications for jobless aid last week rose by 7,000. The Labor Department says that pushed the total to 251,000, which is the most since November of last year. That's when 265,000 Americans applied for benefits. Although the labor market is still strong, there have been some high-profile layoffs announced recently by Tesla, Netflix, Carvana, Redfin, and Coinbase. I'm Shelley Adler.
The stocks are making tentative moves on Wall Street and have turned mixed following a deluge of news about the economy, interest rates, and corporate profits. The Dow is down 47 points, but the NASDAQ is ahead 94. More at townhall.com.
Charlie Dombeck here from Key City Capital. As a practicing CPA for nearly 30 years, I have found that 80% of your ability to grow your wealth is dependent upon two factors: taxes and investment performance. At Key City Capital, we improve investment performance by diversifying capital into off-market investment opportunities in passive rental real estate and alternatives like asset-backed lending. We recover dollars that clients unnecessarily pay in the form of income taxes, creating a lifetime annuity of savings. We are a sponsor of passive, affordable single and multifamily residential rental investments, which are located in Sunbelt landlord-friendly states. These investments are the top choices in a rising interest rate and inflationary environment. They represent a store of value, protecting your capital from market volatility. Learn how we at Key City Capital can help you ultimately grow your wealth rapidly. Connect with me at keycitycapital.com or give me a call at 817-912-1569.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Discussed offensively about Jordan Travis and what the jump we should probably see in his play, the offensive unit finishing at a better rate, offensive success rate. Same with passing down success, all that. I think all that's improved, again, for the obvious reasons. You've got better personnel up front, a little bit deeper, better competition on a daily basis in practice, too. We don't talk enough about that. With the infusion of talent via the transfer portal, and to some degree, certainly in recruiting, elevating a competition level on a daily basis in practice, that's important. It's because, again, you can get, your view can be skewed as to what you are, what you think you are, and what you're capable of if every day you're going against not a plus player. Let's put it that way. And we saw that with our defensive backfield against this receiving core, right? That's a toughie. So it's one of those things where I look at the numbers and I think that most assuredly is going to be better. But where we should probably go back to is again looking at Florida State's defensive numbers. Now they'll get hurt in some areas. They did finish by the end of last year in the top 30 in success rate, finishing drives, and havoc on defense. That havoc number will go down. That's not going to be as good. They created a lot of that havoc, simply put, with the presence of one Jermaine Johnson. And holy moly, was Jermaine Johnson good. I don't want to bore you with too many numbers today, but I looked at some of what he provided beyond just the sacks. What he represented was a whole lot of what Florida State was on defense last year. Not the everything, and they're going to have to make up for it with not just a singular player, although I do think that Dennis Briggs is, off that injury, a versatile, athletic big man that could really obviously make a bigger impact than maybe we're accounting for. Again, out of sight, out of mind, after his injury, for a lot of people, they did not, they didn't think much this offseason about Dennis Briggs and his return, but that's a real good football player. So you throw that in there, and then, of course, you brought in Jared Verse, and Jared Verse is a kid that is really, really athletic and really hungry. And I think that second part is important. He's a guy that's got things to learn. He's a guy that is going to have to be more disciplined than I saw in the spring. But his zeal and day-to-day passion for football is undeniable. You have to be passionate to play football. It's a game of great violence. It is a physical and mental struggle with, across the board. It's the ultimate team game. You have to have real passion to play. I don't think you can have, unless you have extraordinary ability. If you have preternaturally gifted, speed or hands or strength or something, maybe you could get by sort of being indifferent. But that is fairly rare. I mean, it does not happen all that often that somebody who is great at football doesn't love and have a passion for football. And so I think, again, the addition of Jared Verse is a guy that has skill, athleticism, but also a whole lot of what for and want to. That is going to elevate what you do in practice on a daily basis. I think from a technique standpoint and from a size standpoint, there are going to be some things he has to work on. You're not going to be able to replace Jermaine Johnson with Jared Verse and expect that the production will be the same. But I do think him and Dennis Briggs, and then you add Tatum Bethune, you already have the depth in the interior that you like. We talked about that back end. This defense is going to be pretty good. When they have guys like Jamie Robinson and Hakeem Dent and Duke Cooper and Kevin Noles, I mean, on and on we go. Tatum Bethune, Big Coop up front. Robert Cooper is going to have a great season. Already talked about that. Fabian Lovett. You got talent there. This is not a talentless group. And because they were stable at the end of last year, they come off the field in that final game. They come off the field at season's end feeling a whole lot different than they did at the start of the season when they were a train wreck, absolutely befuddled by the task at hand, confused as to their roles and what they were supposed to do. That got remedied over the course of the year. Thank goodness. They would have been looking for a new defensive coordinator had they not. Many people still think that they should be. I think this year is the reason that we will know yay or nay on Adam Fuller. And everybody's got an opinion on where that's going. Patrick Payton will contribute this year. I agree. He's put on weight. He looks a little bit more engaged, ready to go. There are guys there that are going to help this team get to where they want to go. And I want to go back to what I said about Mike Norvell yesterday. He kind of got overshadowed because his interview with the press, which ended up being largely local. I mean, most of the people asking him questions yesterday up in Charlotte were made up of the contingent of Tallahassee folks that cover Florida State. There were exceptions, but for the most part, it was a lot of Florida State people. And Ira brought it up on yesterday's show. The reason for that is that where they gathered to do those interviews, the sidebar interviews that all the teams do and all the coaches and players do, it happened right on the heels of Jim Phillips' State of the Union address, if you will, that caused just a stir, just a minor stir, just a little bit of a, what was that? So, you ended up having a situation where most people were kind of buzzing and racing to write stories on what they just heard and saw from the commissioner when Norvell was sitting down to answer question from the assembled media. But obviously it is my job to listen to those conversations and try to pick up on some of the subtleties of body language and tone, tenor, all of that. And I did. I went back and listened to Mike carefully. I thought Mike was in a real good place. And Coach Norvell is in a real good place. I understand he's under immense pressure, rightfully so. He knows that he has to see a big step forward this year. He knows certainly that they have to have a winning season and they have to have basically the kind of games they played over the last 7 or 8 games as opposed to what we saw through those first 4, which he admitted were about as bad as you could possibly play. But you can't have any more of those games. Like that 0-4 start that featured that defense that was oftentimes, if you were watching from home, for example, or if you went back and watched the replay after you got home and you're like, where the hell are our players on the screen? That dude's just running free and I don't even see a Florida State player. Where is he? It's one thing to get beat. Other guys on scholarship too. People make people miss. They run through people. They do things. But when your guy isn't there, damn it, man, this is like they're facing air. And that kind of mass confusion rightfully causes you to go straight to the root of the title, right? Defensive coordinator. Coordinator? What are we coordinating out here? Nobody's in the vicinity of that guy running into the end zone currently. But in the back half, that wasn't the case. Those points were earned. Teams had to go down the field and earn it. So my point would be, if in fact there's a group that has confidence based on what occurred in the second half of the season, it's going to be that group. And if you hit the ground running with a defense that makes others earn it, you're going to be in every game. You're going to pretty much be in every game, or certainly give yourself a chance to be in every game. So if you're just looking for a beacon of light, if you're just looking for what's a reason that I can tune in early in the season, Lord knows we've been a freaking mess for God knows how long in the month of September. Grand opening, grand closing. It wasn't just that it was grand opening, grand closing. A lot of times, if there was something to build on, it didn't happen. And far too frequently, there was nothing to latch on to. There was just an aimless, massive confusion on one side of the ball or the other. A unit or a segment group devoid of talent, whatever it was. I don't think you're going to look out there early this year for the first time in a long time. I don't think you're going to look out there and say, they don't know what they're doing. And I don't think you're going to look out there and say, they don't have any talent. They don't have enough talent to be elite. They don't have enough talent to make a run at the playoff or anything like that. But might they have enough talent to meet what I think are pretty minimal expectations. I mean, most fans, when projecting a win total for their team, overshoot by a game or two because they're optimistic. Hope springs eternal in the offseason. I think a realistic win total of 7 or 8 is doable with this group and this depth. I think so. So hopefully it happens. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Give your business a facelift with a modern, consistent, creative brand overhaul from Curiosity Marketing Group. These days, it's not enough for your business just to have a standard website or a Google listing to reach your customers. Your business needs to stand out with eye-popping branding, modern web development, and strong marketing. And it takes a team to pull it all together. Words and websites matter. At Curiosity, we make the most of yours. Find out more at curiositymg.com.
I used to fight almost on a daily basis working on my business website. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I could never get it to function the way I needed it to, and I was losing customers because of it. That's when I called Curiosity Marketing. They listened, they understood, we collaborated, and in the end, they delivered beyond my highest expectations. Now, I can barely keep up with the work. They say the future belongs to the curious, and now I'm excited about the future of my business.
Find out more at curiositymg.com.
If you're hearing this right now and you or someone you know is active military, a veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a teacher, turn up the volume and listen to this. My friend Shannon with Legendary Home Loans has a hometown hero loan program designed to make a difference to those who make a difference. When it's time to buy a new home, he will waive all lender fees for all hometown heroes. That's a $1,600 value right out of the gate. Also, if you decide to use their preferred title company for their closing, you'll be saving another $600. That's $2,200 in discounts right off the top. That's like 20 tanks of gas in your car. And today, more than ever, it's important to save as much money as you can, wherever you can. So if you or someone you know is active military, veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a school teacher, and looking to buy a new home, choose Shannon Young, Legendary Home Loans, and ask about their Hometown Heroes program. Call 844-FSU-LOAN or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. That's FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
Hi, my name is Shannon Pash, and I'm the principal at Red Hills Academy. We will provide a challenging, rigorous curriculum. We will also work with our students to teach them how to set goals and then how to work to reach those goals. Red Hills Academy will offer the Spanish language every day. Relationships are really important to us, not just with our students, but with our families and the community. This benefits parents and students alike because parents get that involvement within the school. Easily apply online today at redhillsacademy.com.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
This is Andy Cohen. When I was a law enforcement officer, I devoted my life to a career of service and protection. Who's protecting you? Give me a call. 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM. Helping you is what we do best.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
either. Miami is at plus 600. Good value there out of the Coastal. Pitt's at plus 600. NC State at plus 900 in the Atlantic is great value. I think I would jump on that as well. A little pizza money on the Wolfpack, Dave Doran's club. Wake Forest at plus 1,000. I don't think they have the defense to be in the running there. North Carolina is an annual disappointment. They're plus 1,200. Those are the main contenders behind Clemson. Kind of interesting. Listen, to me, I agree with David Hale on this. You would look at Clemson at minus 125, the favorite, coming off a year in which Wake Forest and Pitt played for the conference crown. I do think, you lose a superstar at Pitt at the most important position. Miami is interesting because they're really good at quarterback. They still, personnel-wise, they may be still a season or two away. I like NC State's personnel. Do you believe that they'll handle the weight of those expectations? A lot of people crowning NC State as your future ACC champion this year. They are the hunted in an odd way. They're sneaking up on nobody this season. A lot of people like them. Again, we talked about North Carolina and Mac Brown and what that team is. I don't believe it. No, I'm not going to see it. So I think you would have to probably take Clemson here as your odds-on pick and do it at minus 25. That's not a bad number. I like that. The Big 12 odds are out as well for conference champions. They've got Texas at plus 200, Oklahoma at plus 220, Oklahoma State at plus 400, Baylor, all plus money for these teams as it's wide open in the Big 12. I don't think I like Texas in year, to come off the year they just had and turn this around that quickly. Especially if you're in the middle of a quarterback race that you're not real sure who's going to win it. Quinn Ewers or Hudson Card. I'm having a hard time with that. It is a proven entity at OU. New head coach. A lot of talent. You can get him at plus 220. I think I might. Oklahoma State at plus 400, Baylor at plus 600. That's, if you're looking for long shot odds, it's tough. And then finally, I think we go back to, your favorite long odd team. I guess you could jump on Kansas State to win the Big 12 at 14-1. 14-1, pretty good odds there. It's the time of year, guys. You start lining up players that you think are going to win individual awards. Like, for example, we were talking about the ACC earlier, and I was giving you my reasons why I think Florida State is an easy pick to the over and where I think they'll finish in the Atlantic. But one of the things that's fun about that exercise and that I enjoy doing is that it's a reminder of who's where, who came back, who moved on, who's supposed to play great, who's supposed to be a bell cow for their individual teams. And right off the bat, Malik Cunningham at Louisville and Sam Hartman at Wake Forest. I mentioned Sean Tucker at Syracuse, who we all saw run. That kid's talented as hell. Zay Flowers at Boston College, a good football player. Unfortunately, Drake Thomas is a really good player at NC State at linebacker. And, there were some honorable mentions out there amongst players that maybe aren't getting talked about enough. And I think one of those guys is a guy right here at FSU on the offensive line. And that would be Dylan Gibbons. Dylan Gibbons, whenever we talk about the offensive line and we talk about returning starters, returning snaps, percentages of all that, man, Dylan Gibbons had an awesome spring, was our best offensive lineman last year, and is even better shape now and is stronger now than he was a year ago when he arrived. So there's no doubt. I think Dylan Gibbons could have a huge season. And he's a guy that I would look to see maybe win awards for Florida State. When was the last time an offensive lineman? I mean, come on. And another guy that I think could surprise that we're not talking enough about as we get set for camp to open early next week. I think Amari Gaynor might surprise, both in terms of the number of snaps that he plays and how well he plays them. I think if we were to assess Amari Gaynor's career at Florida State, I got yelled at by folks a couple years ago when I said that I didn't think that Amari Gaynor, a guy, again, who on a bad defense was probably one of our more high-profile players, especially because he's a legacy. And then you look at him, he looks like an NFL player. I didn't think he was very good, that he had not taken the next step. He had not grown into the player that I thought he was going to be when we signed him. I've been very excited about it because I think that, again, you look at his physical tools and you believe that there's a possibility that there's something better still in there. But I will say he seemed motivated by the competition. When you bring in Tatum Bethune and you see the emergence last year of Deloach, and we know Lundy is kind of one-dimensional, but has a role in this as well, then what you're talking about in a defense that's only playing, for the most part, 2 linebackers as on the field at any one time, then I would say that you're in a fight for reps. You're in a fight for snaps. And he took it to heart. Seemed to me that he took it to heart. I don't think they like his first move, Jimmy. I don't think he's quick enough off the line. I thought about it, too, to answer your question in the chat. Why don't they add 25 pounds to his frame and get him to come in as a pass rusher? I think they'll utilize him in that role in certain circumstances down in distances, but I don't think that he's a natural end. So I've said before about Amari Gaynor that he's a player that seems to be he falls into that category of a tweener. You don't love his sideline to sideline. He's not stout enough to be a middle linebacker in Phil, although that role has changed a lot over the years in football. It's not like it used to be because offenses don't use fullbacks the way they once did. But nonetheless, he isn't that player. He's not particularly good in coverage. He seems to be a guy that's really kind of stuck in between. So that's unfortunate because sometimes that happens where you're good enough at a lot of things, but not great at any one thing. And so you kind of just are, and with him, because he's a legacy and because to look at him, you think he should be this other thing. It's frustrating. Those are the worst. Those are the most frustrating kinds of players, in my opinion, because damn it, man, you're like, that guy should dominate. Look at him. I mean, what are we doing here? Look at that guy. And then it just doesn't happen. I say it every year when we go out there, and I say, maybe it does this year. Maybe it does. Hey, listen, we talk about motivation. We talk about depth. We talk about competition. It makes everybody better. Florida State has not had enough depth in forever. It is an underrated aspect of why they underachieve is because if you have singular good players in each segment group, but not a depth of good player, then your day-to-day operation is flawed when it comes to competition. And that is no way to fuel competitive fire in games against teams that have equal or more talent than you. You're not used to seeing the speed. You're not used to seeing the strength. And you're not used to the intensity, the requisite intensity needed to play at a high level, down in, down out, series in, series out, quarter after quarter, game after game, because you don't see it every day in practice. So, with the upgrade of that competition that we're talking about, I think you will see it. I think you will see it. And again, I really, really want him to succeed because he worked hard, and I think he cares. Those in the past, there have been some guys here that looked the part, but I don't think cared. And they were kind of going through the motions, and that was tough. And then there were times that there were guys that had the requisite passion and worked real hard, but they weren't skilled enough. They just weren't good enough. So you're like, well, that guy tries his ass off. He's just not any good. And that's a toughie. I hate coming to that conclusion. That's always brutal. But this year sees more of the marriage of more players that have the requisite skill and work ethic and passion and dedication and commitment. All of that is there. There are more of those guys this year than each of the last 4 or 5 years. So again, all of that does seem to add up to why it is to have reasonable expectations that this year's team is better than last year's team. Again, one of the things that comes up whenever we're prognosticating about records, whenever we're talking about what we think they ought to be or will be, is that you don't necessarily correlate always that this slight uptick in overall depth of talent and all that into some record that is easy to ascertain, right? Because the schedule changes, and when you play games change, and who you're playing and when you're playing them, that all changes. So over year to year. So, I mean, if you think about it, this is a year where the team could be a lot better, but LSU is on the schedule. They were not a year ago. Now, you can say, well, they replaced Notre Dame and the same coach and all that stuff. Point is, if you're playing out of conference games against Notre Dame and LSU, I mean, there's talent there. That's a tough one. And then from there, I think that you get into, obviously, road game against Miami this year, road game against NC State this year. If you stumble anywhere at home against some of the better teams on your schedule, you could end up with an average-ass record and still be definitively a better team than you were a year ago. But I understand that will be unacceptable. Again, people, that record ends up being that record. It sounds ridiculous, but it's true. Like how you arrive at it and the schedule that you played, while it does matter, and most people, when you sit down and have that conversation with them, agree and get that. But at the end of the day, the season ends and you look, and what's your record? What's your record? It doesn't really change how it affects the emotions. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
News now.
Tallahassee police released new details on what happened leading up to the tragedy of the 11-month-old's death. The little boy's mother inadvertently left him in the car while at work and found him unresponsive after her shift. When she walked out and finished her shift, she did discover that she had left her child in the vehicle and then immediately called 911. When officers arrived, they noticed, unfortunately, the child was already deceased. TBD is in the preliminary stages of the investigation, waiting for the results of an autopsy on the infant. Once the investigation is complete, the findings will be presented to the state attorney's office for potential charges. Kelly County officials celebrated the reopening of the Woolley Park Pier Tuesday morning after it was destroyed by Hurricane Michael in 2018. The pier was originally built in 1998. It was destroyed in 2005 by Hurricane Dennis, but it was rebuilt in 2009. Now it's better than it's ever been. After being destroyed twice, the new pier totaled over $660,000, and the funding came from FEMA and the FDEM. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MaclemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Partly cloudy skies this afternoon with a chance for scattered thunderstorms. Daytime highs approaching 91. Winds out of the southwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered storms again tonight. Lows around 74. Partly cloudy. Mainly clear skies and quiet tomorrow. Chance for scattered storms. High temperatures reach up to 91. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 79.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Whitten Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Whitten's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Whitten Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Whitten Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at whittenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
If you're hearing this right now and you or someone you know is active military, a veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a teacher, turn up the volume and listen to this. My friend Shannon with Legendary Home Loans has a Hometown Hero loan program designed to make a difference to those who make a difference. When it's time to buy a new home, he will waive all lender fees for all Hometown Heroes. That's a $1,600 value right out of the gate. Also, if you decide to use their preferred title company for their closing, you'll be saving another $600. That's $2,200 in discounts right off the top. That's like 20 tanks of gas in your car. And today, more than ever, it's important to save as much money as you can, wherever you can. So if you or someone you know is active military, veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a school teacher and looking to buy a new home, choose Shannon Young, Legendary Home Loans, and ask about their Hometown Heroes program. Call 844-FSU-LOAN or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. That's FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
Here's what you missed on The Greg Tish Show.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. Pastor Tabner was alone with a female church employee. She in a towel and he in his boxers. The charismatic 41-year-old Hurley explained the two of them had been making chili and gotten food on their clothes. With the hot dogs that they were making, we are hoping that the pastor used the right condiments. I think there was at least one hot dog involved. I don't know what you're talking about. We were just making chili dogs.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness, 2 Tallahassee locations.
We thank them for partnering with us. They've been a tremendous partner to the Jeff Cameron Show and our friends here at 93.3 as well. And listen, ISF is an IT and strategy firm right here in the state of Florida. In 40 years, they've served state government and business clients across the nation. So although housed here in Tallahassee, they serve the entirety of the country. They're experts in government processes. They work with government agencies across the country. They've got unmatched expertise in developing strategies, evaluating and refining processes, and implementing technological solutions that are realistic, also forward-thinking. And look, you want to do amazing things, we get it. You got a big vision and you got goals. Everybody does, hopefully. And you want to move your agency forward while navigating which are pretty unique challenges inherent in government operations. They get all that. They understand that. They've been doing it for a real long time. If that describes you, call my friends at ISF. They're helping government clients solve for the future, and they've been doing so now for decades. Yeah, you got to reward your hardworking staff, right? Need people who are dependable to help you realize those dreams. I think for Florida State, we talk about solving for the future. It is about, simply put, doing things that allow you to win football games in the fourth quarter. Give yourself a chance. You have so many games this year where if you don't shoot yourself in the foot, and there were so many self-inflicted wounds a year ago. Now, Florida State has had a hard time with personnel issues. They've had a hard time with sort of a dearth of talent. And when you're going through a transitional phase and a long-term rebuild, the way that they are, that does stand out. You're going to notice that you sabotage when you fire coaches, or when coaches move on and then the subsequent coach gets fired and a new coach comes in, and all of the things that we have certainly vetted in the past. But when that happens, you're unfortunately shooting yourself in the foot off the field time and again, because you're having to start over. You lose recruits when that happens. And so your talent's not going to be where it's supposed to be. But I would say that the best part about what this staff has done is, while trying to create and establish a new culture, they've really utilized the transfer portal. You know, the recruiting classes we want to see be top 10, top 5. We'd like to get to that place. I think that there is certainly an upper limit to what you're capable of when you haven't won on the field. But you get your house in order off of it. You get people within that locker room working with and for one another, fighting for one another, working to a shared goal, right? It seems like at the very basic root of what you have to do, that they've done that. I think that's identifiable when we're over there. You know, when he first got here, it was an interesting process to watch. You know, we're all watching closely to see, all right, well, what's the vision? What's the message? What is it he's selling these players? Do those players buy in? That takes time. You got to identify the ones that are and the ones that aren't. And it's a very crucial process to your future success. Because if you're fooled and say you believe that you have a kid on your team that is perhaps at an important position like quarterback, maybe he's a kid like, I don't know, DeAndre Francois. and you decide to hand over the reins at the most important position to him, and he hasn't really bought in and isn't really a good leader and isn't the leader of men, then you are sabotaging any future success that you might have because your evaluation process was faulty. So when I look at this coaching staff, I think that their evaluation process has not been faulty. They haven't always gotten the kids in recruiting that we want them to get. They have failed in some ways, especially, I think, at certain positions. Now, we've also talked about that. But where they haven't failed is evaluating what they had and where they needed to get better. And if they didn't get those kids, if they didn't get those answers that they wanted, they were able to bring in a lot of talent in the transfer portal. And I think that's something that pretty consistently across the board, in addition to ridding themselves of some of the quote-unquote bad apples or guys that weren't buying in the locker room, in addition to changing that culture, they have been able to infuse talent in areas where the team desperately needed it, and it was experienced talent. I mean, we think about a lot of the guys that came in here, not just Jermaine Johnson, but a lot of the players, even guys that are on this year's team that they're depending on to play well, to provide success, and to upgrade segment groups. A lot of them are transfers. So that part of the evaluation is, I think they get an A there. There have been very few misses when it comes to the transfer portal. So you've elevated your floor and you've given yourself a fighting chance to be in these games. You got the buy-in and eventually the understanding defensively, at least to know where to be, and guys aren't running free. So you're going to be in games. And this schedule is littered with games that can go either way. So in a year in which you must have a good season, in order to solve for your future in recruiting, you have to garner wins. The only way you get wins is not only that buy-in, but an upgrade of talent. There has been an upgrade in talent at receiver. There's been an upgrade in talent on the offensive line. There's an upgrade in talent at linebacker. You brought in Jared Verse off the end to help out with the loss, which really is a significant loss of Jermaine Johnson. You've given yourself a chance to win. You've given yourself a chance to be in the game. And so for me, that is about solving for the future, which would solve your recruiting issues if they win 8 games this year. Mike Norvell's a popular guy. The players like him. I know that the booster community really likes Mike. But again, most people here, not being Pollyanna, right? We heard Jim Phillips say that yesterday. And they need wins. They need wins. You can like a guy as much as you want to. You can talk about his strengths. You can talk about the good things, the aspects of his personality, his work ethic, and all those things. I think those things are intact. But if you don't win, none of it matters. He's equipped himself and put himself in a position to get those wins this year because of the successes, both in flipping the culture and in the transfer portal. We'll see, thankfully, soon enough. ISF solving for the future. Again, you and your staff work hard, and your constituents depend on you. Brilliant ideas, and you want to improve and streamline workflows. ISF can help you do that, introduce new technologies, reduce costly inefficiencies, and remove those obstacles. That's ISF solving for the future. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Over 50 years ago, when Paul Nicholson founded Paul's Termite and Pest Control, he had one goal in mind: provide the best service possible to his neighbors so they felt like family. Your problem was his problem, so today it's our problem. Paul's service area is our home. It's where our kids go to school, where we shop, and where we get involved with community organizations. So if some out-of-town company knocks on your door and begins pressuring you to sign an agreement for termite or pest control, you can bet on a few things. Number 1, you'll never see that person again. Number 2, your technician is likely to change often. And number 3, your money will not stay in North Florida. These companies are sending your money to home offices in Atlanta, Orlando, Salt Lake City, or even Great Britain. Paul's Termite and Pest Control knows local means something to you. The health of your Tallahassee home, family, and pets is our number 1 priority. For the elimination of termites and pests and a greener lawn too, call your local company with local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, Your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Physical stress on our bodies can take its toll as the years go by. Whether you're looking to get back into an old sport or just want to spend more time outdoors to explore all life has to offer in our beautiful city, the dedicated team at TOC is here for you every step of the way. You can trust TOC for all your orthopedic needs. And now, scheduling an appointment has never been easier. Just visit teamtoc.com and click schedule online. That's teamtoc.com.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, T-SparkConstruction.com. We conquer all peaks, we fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
License number CCC 1331204.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-452-5050. That's 1-800-452-5050. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-452-5050. That's 1-800-452-5050.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness.
My friend Shannon with Legendary Home Loans has a hometown hero loan program designed to make a difference to those who make a difference. When it's time to buy a new home, it's going to waive all lender fees for all hometown heroes. That's $1,600 value right there out the gates. If you use their preferred title company for the closing, you'll be saving another $600, so $2,200 in discounts right off the top. You or someone you know, active military, veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, school, teacher. Well, person can't be a school. They can be a teacher within that school. The way I read that was not right. If you're looking to buy a new home, pay attention, man. Shannon's the guy. Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Ask about their Hometown Heroes program when you call, if you fit that bill there. 844-FSU-LOAN, 844-FSU-LOAN, or you can visit them, FSUHomeLoans.com. That's FSUHomeLoans.com. Thanks, Charlie. That's awfully nice, but and now I just feel old as hell. He writes on Twitter at Jay Cameron Show. His voice and how the show in general brings me back to my junior year in the house on High Road behind Guthrie's. Nostalgia to the max, the best. Thanks, Charlie. That's a kind way of describing what the show means to you, but man, too many people now say that. Oh, it brings me way back all those years ago listening to Jeff on the radio. Matthew on Twitter noted Brady Hoke voice likes our running game. Yes, Jim Phillips likes our running game. Ooh. I miss Brady Hoke, the head coach, after each and every loss that he had to stand up there and take that beating from the press that knew he was a short timer. I missed some of that. I also missed, by the way, did you see this stat, Matthew? I just realized that it's kind of an oddity. We're about to do probables, but in Major League Baseball, I should note that home runs, strikeouts, and walks are all down. Those don't normally correlate, those three. So strikeouts are down. That's a good thing, right? But walks are down and home runs are down. So it's weird. Perhaps something's up with the ball. There is a thought out there that it's taken long enough, because the three true outcomes have gone up every year forever, and this is the first year that they're not, that players have changed their approach. Might we be on the cusp of seeing exactly what we wanted to, which is, again, more balls put in play because guys have decided that, you know what, they're not going to seemingly get rid of this rule, so we're going to have to hit against the shift? Hey, what do you know? There you go. Yeah, change your approach. How about that? Let's go the other way. It works. Took a while. Go ahead. Cue it up. Let's get to these probables. We got a lot to get to. Man.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching probables?
I was going to say, before I read you some of those probables, A, it's good that baseball's back, but B, do you realize how close we are to Big Daddy J and some picks and Redemption Thursday?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Buddy, it's nearly upon us.
Somebody in the headlines chat on Tuesday, by the way, speaking of segments coming back, requested that you and Tom bring back the Held to the Gnaw Team of the Week.
Yeah, it's a popular segment that we got rid of. I don't know as well. Somebody achieved it.
I explained to them the premise of the segment. Obviously, that when Oregon State beat whoever that was, that the segment was over. But they still clamor for it.
I don't care. Hey, let's get it back. Fair enough. I just was looking at numbers and games to bet on today, and there was a lot of that for College Sportsbook, and I was like, man, we're getting set to do this for real. Hey, I didn't give myself enough love when we came back after the British Open or after the Open. Somebody online did note that I took Cam Smith at the start of the week. Just saying. I wish I had been wrong. I wanted Rory to win. Damn it, man. All right, alas, we got games underway. They're in the fifth. Texas and Miami. That's a 5-0 Texas lead. John Gray started for the Rangers. Pablo Lopez started for the Marlins. We got the Yankees and the Astros. Houston leading the Yankees 2-0 in the top of the fifth. That's Jordan Montgomery and Christian Javier. Tigers and A's just about to start. As soon as this show ends, Tariq Skubal and Zach Lowe. Second game, doubleheader. Garrett Hill will go for the Tigers, and Frankie Montas will go for the A's. Yankees Stros also, I think, have a rescheduled game somewhere set for tonight. That would be Domingo Germán and Luis Garcia. Late night tonight, Giants and Dodgers, Carlos Rodon and Mitch White. Tomorrow we get, I believe, a full slate. All of them be out there then tomorrow. Here we go. On to the second half of the season we go. I look forward to it. That's a look at those that shall reside on the bump. Going out of town this weekend, buddy. This is the last of the getaways and opportunities to see family. It's like I'm going off to, I don't know, the boot camp or something. I mean, once football starts, that's it. It's all consuming. It's everything. And it's, look, it's a labor of love. I'm not complaining, but it ends up being all day, every day. I'm just glad that we have the infusion and influx of these games. I'm going to be doing more things this year, as you are. I'll be doing some hosting for some stuff with the Kentucky program. They're sports talk guys and all that, and hosting some video stuff for them. And then I'm going to do that with Nebraska as well as Tennessee. Tom, if he were here, would get a kick out of how much work I'm going to be doing with Tennessee. And I know I got to tell you, I know what's going to happen. Somewhere along the way, I'm going to be doing this stuff with Tennessee, and somebody's going to be like, hey, That's that dude that every chance he got killed us. What the hell's he doing here? I can be objective, but it'll be fun. And no, nothing. I'm not lessening my role with Florida State or anything like that, but it's just funny. It will be, yeah, I will have to do that. And it'll make me pay closer attention to all the advanced numbers that I trotted out here today on the show about where Florida State was or was not and how much better they could be in those areas. And I wasn't kidding, by the way. That wasn't just a premise made up out of thin air. This morning, I really did. I loved waking up early and getting set for that and then going through what I thought, those returning starts, right? 78% of the snaps on the offensive line return, but then me thinking, well, that doesn't tell the story because that's great. You got a lot of returning players, but I'm more excited about the players you brought in. Not that they're going to be instant starters, all of them, or not that they're all high-level players, but they're all guys that will compete for a spot, and that changes everything. Some of them are going to win a spot. I'm really curious when we get started next week. How about that? Say that out loud again. When we get started next week at practice, how quickly do we see Caden Lyles taking real reps with this group up front? And, obviously it's once the pads come on, it's tough when you get out there and you're not in pads yet. But once those pads come on and the rubber meets the road and things get serious, how quickly do we see him taking reps? Is there a battle for the center position, Maurice Smith and him? Because I think there will be. And I also want to lay my eyes on Maurice Smith, who is rumored to have put on weight and is getting bigger and stronger. That is the area of weakness in his game. He is a very athletic player. He is a smart player. He was not a big enough or strong enough player. So he was on roller skates at the end of last year. Second half of last season, he was a minus player, could not win those matchups against the better defensive lines. If, in fact, he is much bigger and stronger, for whatever reason, sometimes we're not told everything. Guys have medical conditions. Guys have issues. They can't put on weight, or they have an injury that they're nursing, and so they can't lift as hard as they need to. Whatever it was, the fact that he is now rumored to have put on a lot of weight and is getting bigger and stronger suggests that he's free of whatever it was that wouldn't allow for it before. That is huge because that competition at center kind of will dictate a lot of other things. So I'm excited about that, and we're about to see it, and it changes. It really does. Those returning stat numbers are nice to see, but it doesn't tell the whole story of how good is Dimitri Emmanuel? How good is Bless Harris, who had a good spring, going to continue to surprise? The kid from South Carolina, are you going to get, that's a kid that when you looked at the PFF grades, you go, not real good. And then other times you look at him and go, oh, look at that guy. Looks like a player against an SEC caliber defense. How about that? So then I'm going to look at that and wonder about that as well. So we have real competition is the point there. Real competition. And then I think one of the things that's, again, kind of gone under the radar is the confidence and belief that they have in Jordan Travis to take the next step, and his belief that he can, given that he doesn't have any real competition at quarterback. Now, ordinarily you would want real competition there. Ordinarily you'd say that's not a good thing, but I think that for that kid who's been second guessed all the while, it is good to have him emboldened by confidence. Good work out of you again today, Director Matthew today, Producer Matthew, and Director. Appreciate you as always. Thanks to all of you who watched and or listened. Appreciate you. We'll be on with you again tomorrow. You guys take care. Have a great day.